In 1984, two field workers discovered a body in a bog outside Cheshire, England. Officials named the body the Lindo Man and determined that he'd suffered serious injuries, including blunt trauma and strangulations. But the most shocking thing about this gruesome story is that they were actually able to determine these details from a body which was actually 2,000 years old. Typically, decomposition would make such injuries really hard to detect, especially on a body buried just weeks earlier. So, why was this corpse so perfectly preserved, and why don't all bodies stay in this condition? The answers to these questions live 6 feet underground. It may not appear very lively down there, but a single teaspoon of soil contains more organisms than there are human beings on the planet. From bacteria and algae to fungi, protozoa, soils are home to 1/4 of Earth's biodiversity. And perhaps the soil's most important inhabitants are microbes, organisms no larger than several hundred nanometers. Imagine now we drop an apple in the forest. As soon as it comes in contact with the soil, worms and other invertebrates begin breaking it down into smaller parts, absorbing nutrients from what they consume and excreting the rest. This first stage of decomposition sets the scene for the microbes. The specific microbes present, they depend on this kind of environment. For example, in grasslands and farm fields, there tend to be more bacteria which excel at breaking down grass and leaves. But in this temperate forest, there are more fungi which is capable of breaking down complex woody materials. So, looking to harvest more food from the apple's remains, these microbes release enzymes that trigger a chemical reaction called oxidation. This breaks down the molecules of organic matter, releasing energy, carbon, and other nutrients in the process, which is called mineralization. As insects and worms eat more of the apple, they expose more surface for these microbial enzymes to oxidize and mineralize. Even the excretions they leave behind are mined by microbes. This continues until the apple is almost reduced to nothing, a process that would take 2 months in a temperate forest. Environments that are hot and wet support more microbes than places which are cold and dry, allowing them to decompose things more quickly. And less complex organic materials break down faster, but given enough time, all organic material is reduced to microscopic mineral nutrients. But there are few environments too hostile for these multi-talented microbes, including the peat bogs outside Cheshire, England. Peat bogs are mostly made of highly acidic sphagnum mosses. These plants acidify the soil while also releasing a compound that binds to nitrogen, depriving the area of nutrients. Alongside cold northern European temperatures, these cold conditions make it impossible for microbes to function. With nothing to break down, the dead mosses pile up, preventing oxygen from entering the bog. This results in a naturally sealed system. Whatever organic matter enters a peat bog just sits there like the Lindo Man. The acid of the bog was strong enough to dissolve relatively simple material like bone and it turned into more complex tissue like skin and organs pitch black. But his corpse is otherwise so well preserved that we can determine he was healthy, probably in the mid 20s, and potentially wealthy as his body shows signs of hard labor. Few signs of hard labor. We even know the Lindo man's last meal, or probably we predicted it, which is still an undigested piece of charred bread. Scholars are less certain about the circumstances of his death. While murder is a possibility, the extremity of his injuries might suggest a sacrifice. So even 2000 years ago, there is evidence the bog was known for its almost supernatural qualities, a place where the soil beneath your feet wasn't quite dead or alive.